Welcome to the Roost News, the place for all things volunteer. I am Lillian Lee, co-lead for the Roost News podcast, and thank you volunteers and staff for joining us today. I am so excited. We have staff members, portal champions with us today, who you will hear from in just a few minutes. The topic when we're talking about portal champions is portal champions and AARP Volunteer Portal. Before we get to the topic, I would like for the audience to hear a little bit about the team members. And I'm excited when I say team members because I'm a part of this team too. And it is the North Carolina PVET. And that stands for North Carolina Portal Volunteer Engagement Team. So welcome team, and I'm going to get started with a little background about Lillian. I am, as I said, a co-lead for the Roost Team News podcast. I'm also co-lead for Movies for Grown-Ups in the Triangle region of North Carolina. I am a lead volunteer for the Triangle region. I also serve on the DIY training team for brain health and many other things in the Triangle region. And one that I'm very proud of is that I am a member of the North Carolina AARP Executive Council. So I'm going to turn it over to Danielle and ask that she share a little information about Danielle.
Hi, everyone. I'm Danielle Harrell with the North Carolina State Office. I've been on board with AARP for the past 20 years, and I support the ASD's Associate State Directors and the ASD State President across the board.
And so what is your role with the office? What else do you do with the office, Danielle?
So in my role, I'm the Senior Program Specialist. So I support the ASDs throughout our 5 regions. And those 5 regions consist of the Charlotte region, the Coastal region, Triad, Triangle, and the Mountain region. And so I support their work along with our state director in that role, do a lot of the process and work when it comes to procurement, and things of that sort, anything with accounts payable in the financial services department.
Okay, Angie, and you can pass it on after you speak.
Okay, hi, I'm Angie Swan Jones, and I am the Portal Champion representative for the Triad region. And the Triad, I'm also a DIY presenter, and I love doing Prepare to Care because I cared for my mom. I do Fraud Watch, and I'm just starting to do decluttering. I'm also responsible for, we're bringing back Movies for Grown-Ups and doing some exhibiting face-to-face and doing some exhibiting. But I'm also the co-lead, national co-lead for the technology training team, and also course administrator for some of the courses that we offer for volunteers and staff. So let's turn it over next to Jean.
Hi, I'm Jean Van Divender, and I have been a volunteer with AARP for well over 10 years. I started in the Triangle region as an advocacy volunteer, and that naturally led to other volunteer activities with AARP, and that includes currently being on the North Carolina Executive Council representing the Triangle region. Like Angie, I also love Fraud Watch and do several Fraud Watch presentations. In addition, I do some volunteering nationally for AARP. I'm a member of the technology training team, and I am the lead volunteer portal training specialist for the country. I will pass it over to Charlene now.
Hello, everyone. I'm Charlene Hartman, and I started volunteering about 5 years ago, working with AARP Maryland. From there, I moved to Charlotte, and now I'm in the Charlotte region, a lead on several of the DIY workshops, also community outreach. And most importantly, I'm very excited to be a part of the Portal Champion team. I'm going to pass it over to Barbara.
Thank you, Charlene. Barbara Akinwole. I live in the coastal region for AARP North Carolina. I'm a member of our leadership team for that region. I'm also a member of the North Carolina Executive Council. I am a Powerful Tools for Caregiver class leader, which is one of my passions. And I most recently became involved with the Age Friendly Network because my favorite little town of Leland, North Carolina is now a member of that network.
Thank you
Lil.
so much. Team members, the North Carolina Pivot Team, as you can hear, there are great things going on in the state of North Carolina as it relates to volunteering with these team members, as well as on the national level. They are doing their thing when it comes to volunteering, and we thank you all for doing that. So let's jump back to our topic of the day, which is AARP Volunteer Portal and Portal Champions. And I have some questions for the team, and I'm going to start with Danielle. Danielle, you said that you were the staff portal champion. And if I remember correctly, I know the staff has a portal sign-in versus the volunteer portal sign-in. Can you share a little bit about that and why you feel it's important for the staff to utilize the portal?
Yes, so with the interface on the staff side of the volunteer portal, it is definitely different from the volunteer aspect. And what it does is it actually provides more privileges and rights for staff admin versus the volunteer. So there are a lot of things that the volunteer portal champions, as well as the new volunteers on board and existing volunteers can utilize. However, then there are some things where permissions are actually granted through staff. And so that would be the difference. Again, it's the interface that really shows the difference in the two.
Great, great. And Jean, I know that you are a part of the VPTS. Hope I've got that right. Volunteer Portal Training Specialist. And you have been in a leadership position with the portal for several years now. So anything that you would like to share about just the portal and the role of the portal and how it got started, what the VPTS does versus what the Portal Champion does? Anything you'd like to share in that aspect?
Sure, I would be glad to. So the Volunteer Portal Training Specialist team actually began many years ago after the Volunteer Portal rolled out. And that was started really because as we were trying to reach volunteers and educate them on the portal, it became quite evident that having a volunteer train a volunteer was much more effective.
Yes.
So the Volunteer Portal Training Specialist team, as you said, I'm the lead on it, basically works with the Office of Volunteer Engagement. And our role is to support both staff and volunteers on portal and portal usage. So how do we do that? We spend a lot of time helping to inform and educate the staff and the volunteer on all the features and how to use the portal. That includes being perhaps a lead in an in-state training. It also involves being the lead in meetings to engage the portal champions across the country to learn and understand and communicate with each other, and then to be a part of this team. So I do want to also share that we are divided into 5 geographical regions ourselves, and we support different regions within the country of Portal Champions. And I, as the lead of the large region, have the privilege of working with this team.
Great, great. Thank you so much, Jean. And the other question I have for you, Jean, is if I am a volunteer and I want to find out what's on the portal, but I'm not sure how to access the portal, what is, I guess, a brief statement that you can give as to how someone new can access the portal?
Well, so the first thing is always to talk with their staff partner, right? So that would be someone like in North Carolina to speak to Danielle, because actually portal access is an access that has to be granted, and it is granted by a staff person only when the volunteer is truly a volunteer. Once their access has been granted, getting into the portal is relatively easy. It's a very simple web address, which is volunteer.aarp.org. And so that is the easiest way to get into the portal, and then, reach out to either one of the volunteer portal champions or the state portal champion if you have issues.
Great. Thank you so much for giving that address also. Now, you've heard about the state office and the VPTS group and Portal Champions. But then as a volunteer, as a staff, why should I use the portal? What's so good about this portal? So I've asked Angie to share with us some great things, some great reasons to utilize the portal. Angie?
Okay, one of the things I want to say too is that I have a technology background. So when I first became a volunteer and I found out about the portal, of course, Jean came and did some training with us here in the Triad. But then after that, I was telling my ASD, Mark Hensley, that I wanted to learn more and was excited about the fact that the portal, which is used by all volunteers, should be used by all volunteers, should be used by all staff members. It has a wealth of information. The portal is something that's there to provide not only, a lot of people think it's just a way of getting reimbursements and doing things, but it's a wealth of information in terms of when I talked about being DIY and doing prepare to care, and Jean and I talked about doing fraud. You can find all kinds of information. The training is there to do the DIY. There's information that's there available about there are reports that are available that we as Portal Champions have access to, and not everybody has access to it, but there's all kinds of information. There's information in terms of the calendars and you can find, but the one thing that I really like about it is a huge communications tool. There, you can post things on there, and for example, with technology training, we post our training and then the information goes out to those volunteers who have access to the portal and have those emails there. So there's a lot of information that's available that people don't even realize how much is there, but using it as a huge communications tool is a plus.
Yes, yes. And I get excited about going to the portal and looking at the chatter and chatter groups tab and the libraries. Do you want to talk a little bit about those particular 3 tabs, Angie?
The library, let me start with the library, because there's, as I said, the wealth of information. You can go and find all kinds of information that relates to DIY, and that's do it yourself. And it's information on presenting and sharing information about prepare to care, about fraud watch, about decluttering, home fit, all kinds of things that you can do. And you can find the information there in those chatter groups. There are also in those libraries, there are some libraries that are just for individual states. And then there's some libraries that you can access all of that information. The chatter groups, there's a large chatter group that's used by national, and most volunteers can get access to that and have information sent to them via email. But also in one of the ways that we use the chatter group in the Triad is that we actually created a chatter group for the Triad, and we post information and share that information. We also have one here for the Portal volunteer group as well. Anything that we're doing, we can post that information. So you don't have to go feeding through emails and everything else. You can find the information there in the chatter groups. And again, as I talked about, there's also the training, and where you can get all kinds of training that's available for all volunteers. And some states actually create their own training and post that information there as well. But there's a lot of other tabs that are out there and available for volunteers.
Wonderful. Thank you, Angie. And then Barbara, you have stated that you are in the coastal region of North Carolina as a Portal Champion, as a lead volunteer. I know that in your meetings with your Associate State Director, you do something special when it comes to Portal Champions, Portal training. Share information about what you do at your meetings with your volunteers in ASD.
Sure. Well, as you said, we have monthly meetings, and in working with my ASD, and the other members actually of the leadership team, we decide that we should spend around 5 minutes of each monthly meeting for me to give any updates with reference to the portal. Another thing that I do is that I distribute the OVE update to the volunteers, And I use that as an opportunity to adapt it so that my contact information also shows up in the volunteer portal highlight box in case the volunteers need assistance with accessing the portal. In January of this year, we held a portal training session as part of our volunteer training session overall. And we continue to look at ways of how best to utilize my expertise and share it with the other volunteers at each meeting. So we try to be as creative as possible because we know that the portal for some volunteers is not yet in their psyche as the beginning and the end, the go-to place to get information about what's going on with volunteers in AARP. So it's a journey that we're on, and that we hope that we will improve as time goes along, and that our volunteers will begin to appreciate accessing the portal even more.
Great, yes, and staff and volunteers listening to this podcast, that may be something you want to incorporate in your meetings with your volunteers, and that is to have time set aside to give a little information on the portal, to let them practice using the portal, or just ask questions as it relates to the portal, so that everyone in your area will feel more and more comfortable in utilizing the portal. So I'm going to step over now to Charlene. Charlene, I'm thinking about that new volunteer that has just started with AARP. They've heard about this portal, but not sure if it's of interest to them, if they don't want to spend time. Do they really need to spend time delving into the portal? What suggestions would you give to a new volunteer in encouraging them to utilize the portal?
Well, first of all, I want them to understand the purpose behind the portal. And as we move to a virtual world, we tend to be using portals in everything that we do, with our doctor's office, with our banks. So I want them to understand AARP has that same system, a one-stop shop for them to use and to learn all the AARP programs through the portal. Most importantly, they need to make sure that they get registered and they get their logon information and their email, so that they can use the portal and keep that up to date and use it every day. I check it at least every day. The other thing that's kind of noteworthy is every time you check it, you get points, reward points, when you go into the portal. And that allows you to do many things with AARP and get discounts. So it's very beneficial, not only for information on all the resources, as well as getting reward points behind it. So
Great. Well, wow, what a wealth of information you have before you today, staff and volunteers. This team is excited about using the portal. We want to continue to stress to all volunteers and staff to use the portal. As many have said, if you don't know how to use it, if you don't know how to log in, check with your state office, because that is the first line for making sure that you're able to access the portal. So as we bring closure to this podcast today, I want to open it up to members of the North Carolina, I like to say this, North Carolina PVET, North Carolina Portal Volunteer Engagement Team, to find out if there's something else that they would like to share that maybe was overlooked as we were making comments. And so team members, if you just raise your hand and I'll call on you to make your comments if you have anything else you'd like to share. Okay, they said, oh, Angie, okay.
Okay, I wanted to reiterate the fact that what we've all talked about, the fact is how important the portal really is. There are a lot of people that say, well, no, I don't use the portal, but there's a lot of information that's out there, and more and more to come, you know, as states are working and we're starting to do more things virtually, as Charlene talked about, or starting to do things face to face. There's some things I do, prepare to care, and I'm doing a training this afternoon And I always go to the portal to check to see if there's some updates, because I do understand that there are some updates that are out there for the DIY. So that's the place to start. A lot of people say, okay, I need to call my ASD. But start with the portal and check and see what new information is out there. And don't forget about when I talked about training, there's Litmus and there's training that's out there online that you can take at your leisure. And I just happen to love, and I thank Danielle for asking me to be a portal champion back in 2019. So I really think that, and I love doing it.
Jean?
Yes, I just wanted to take a moment to address the people who maybe are afraid to try the portal or have issues maybe in the past, either accessing the portal or navigating the portal. And I just want to take a moment to stress that there is help. Every state has a state portal champion. Every state should also have a volunteer portal champion, or in the case of North Carolina, many champions. And so there is always a person who can help you if you have an issue. If you actually are successful in getting into the portal on a regular basis and there's a new area that you just don't understand, as Angie mentioned earlier, there are the library tabs, and there is information in there to get some tip sheets on how to use the portal. So I kind of go to things like that frequently when it's something I haven't done in a long time or it's something new. So I just want to stress there are resources out there
Very
to
good.
assist you if you have problems.
Yes. Anyone else? Yes, Charlene.
The one thing I want to stress is that you can use the portal anywheres. You can use it on vacation, you can use it from your home, you can use it from an office, you can use it on your iPhone, your iPad, and even your laptop. So it's always there with resources available to you.
Great. Okay, well, we're going to bring closure. And again, I want to thank the North Carolina Pivot team for being a part of the AARP Roost News podcast. So staff and volunteers, please share the link and ask others to listen in to the Roost News podcast. And we will see you very soon in the Roost News podcast land, I call it. Thank you so much for joining us. Again, volunteers, portal champions, thank you for taking time out of your schedule to be with us today.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.